so have you ever driven past a store and been like, damn, I wonder why anyone would work there? So like, have you driven past a Wendy's lately, or a McDonald's, or an Arby's, or a Crystal, or anything like that that looks abandoned? Have you been past any of those lately? Because I'm telling you, if you have, you'll notice that it's pretty empty in the parking lot, unless it's a few people in the drive-through, and then at that point in time, you're probably wondering like, well, I mean, is there actually anybody in there working? Because I mean, it seems like the line's starting to stack up quite a bit, and half the time it's in the street. So I mean, have you ever really thought about that lately? Well, I know that eventually they're going to fix that. And what they're going to do is they're probably going to get rid of people. And, I mean, it's kind of be expected at some point in time. So I found a story a couple months ago, and I decided I was going to report about it now because, well, the channel didn't exist back then. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the story, and we'll react to it.
Welcome to White Castle. This is Brittany. How can I help you?
This robot named Flippy runs the fry station at a White Castle outside of Chicago. With its mechanical arm and using computer vision technology, Flippy can cook everything from French fries and onion rings to cheese sticks. White Castle said it plans to add 100 Flippies to its kitchens nationwide.
We used to need 2 people to operate that French fry area during peak hours, and now we are able to only have 1 person operating that area.
Would you like to try the mac and cheese bites today? All right, thank you. If the screen's correct.
Okay, so it's already 10,000 times more efficient than having sorry ass people in there. The same people who are always jacking up your number 3 with an orange juice. And somehow you get a number 5 and 2 apple pies and a Coke. And then they done messed up the whole line because, quite frankly, they done already messed up 2 orders ago. So everybody in the line's order is effed up. And thus it's a bad day for many people. So, back to it.
It is 8:27. Second window, please.
Fast food jobs are demanding, quick moving, and sometimes even dangerous. But not for robots.
When you look at the restaurant industry, it's a little bit late to the party in adopting automation and robotics in particular.
So far, the restaurants that are using them or trying them out say that this automation really only has to do with helping relieve boring tasks from workers' plates, help make their jobs easier, let them engage with the customers more. But there's a lot of reports out there kind of guesstimating how many jobs could be replaced by these robots, by automation.
Up to 82% of restaurant positions could to some extent be replaced by robots. Automation could save U.S. fast food restaurants over $12 billion in annual wages. And restaurants are also struggling to find workers. American restaurants are down more than 560,000 jobs, or about 4.6% of its workforce from their pre-pandemic levels. About a third of Americans worked in a restaurant as their first job, and half have some restaurant work experience.
Yeah, the economics of this are very, very compelling. If you take minimum wage, just around the $20,000 per year mark. That's the cost of 1 robot.
Other companies in the space include Picnic, that has a robot that makes pizza, and Autech, whose machines make sushi. So what impact will robots have on the fast food industry and the livelihood of its workers? CNBC got a behind-the-scenes look at restaurant robot maker Miso Robotics to find out. Miso Robotics got its start in 2016 with a handful of engineers in a Pasadena, California garage. 2 years later, the company launched Flippy at a nearby Caliburger restaurant. Flippy's first job was turning over a hamburger patty after it was placed on a grill by a human chef. But the company quickly pivoted to fried foods, rolling out a portable fryer station for baseball games at Dodger Stadium.
This was really the peak throughput test for us. Can Flippy keep up with in-between innings at a Dodger game and everybody goes to the concession stand? Can we meet that demand?
In 2021, Miso launched Flippy 2 using a mounted rail system, AI, and computer vision technology that can identify and track food as it moves through the structure. Although it has a camera, tablet, and robotic arm, engineers say the real tech is in the software.
The hard thing to get right about this product is having the computer vision, the algorithms that plan the cook cycle, and the software that manages the robotic motion to all work together so that it's as reliable as a refrigerator and it does the job.
Food is dispensed directly from the freezer into a basket. The robot's computer vision identifies the type of food and places it in the appropriate fryer. Once the food is cooked, the basket is taken out of the fryer, shaken, and dumped into a holding area where it is bagged by a worker.
For those of us who have been in a restaurant, this is exactly the same process that is done today by a human.
He's constantly playing like a multi-frame game of chess in his mind.
Yeah, he's right. It's supposed to be done by a human. But, working back there, most of you probably know, for whatever reason, it gets effed up by that human quite often. They drop the basket, they don't put down enough tots, they don't, hell, they might just forget to put them down altogether. So, now obviously there's probably software things that can go wrong where Flippy can probably, malfunction, or Flippy can just, start tripping. He'll probably go rogue eventually one day, but I don't know, man. Just let's keep going.
Understanding where to be next, so his sequence of movements is precise and he doesn't undercook, overcook food.
But what about the cost? Miso charges restaurants about $3,500 a month for a Flippy 2 under its robot-as-a-service model. The company charges an additional fee of about $10,000 for installation. By comparison, the median hourly wage of fast food workers in the U.S. is just $12.07 an hour. There were roughly 11.7 million restaurant workers in the U.S. in 2022.
But Flippy 2 is different. Flippy 2 works around the clock. We have many 24-hour locations where Flippy 2 is installed. Flippy doesn't call in sick.
Built in Columbus, Ohio, it takes Miso about 6 weeks to manufacture one Flippy 2. The current off-the-rack mechanical arm is the same type designed for car factories.
Flippy gonna be
and
there.
Miso says they cost $15,000 each.
You don't have to worry about Flippy calling out. You don't have to worry about Flippy having a mental health day. You don't have to worry about Flippy having anything that's going on. Flippy don't get pregnant. Flippy don't get AIDS. Flippy don't get herpes. Flippy doesn't do any of that. Flippy doesn't mess around getting a car accident. Unless he wrecks the restaurant. But other than that, Flippy doesn't have those issues. So, as a business, you're going to probably start moving on to that. First of all, half the people you deal with are just trying to file some type of HR claims for where they can still have the company's money or still somebody's money. Half the time people in there just bitching about just the most random of things just so they won't do their job. There's so many different things I can go on and on and on and on about. When it comes to people in food industry that don't want to be there. They just don't want to be there. Half the time people just complain all day long. That's half the job. It's just people gossiping, trying to, screw around with one another and just trying to create whatever nonsense they can. That way they can have something to look forward to when they go back to work because they hate it.
To modify with additional grippers and sensors. Last year, Miso partnered with robotic arm maker Ally Robotics in hopes to start producing its own arm in 2023. The company also makes a streamlined version of Flippy 2 called Flippy Lite, as well as a drinks dispenser named Sippy. Flippy Lite is currently being tested in restaurants by Chipotle.
And what Flippy Lite is designed to do is to take one item that requires frying and just cook the heck out of it all day long.
With about 25,000 shareholders, Miso has so far raised more than $70 million in crowdfunding. The company's also announced it is testing a robot that fries chicken wings for Wing Zone.
The industry's leading collection of essential DVD creator tools. It's an all-in-one toolkit at your...
The global fast food industry is a $273 billion business, including more than 280,000 fast food restaurants in the U.S. alone. At this White Castle on the outskirts of Chicago, staff in the busy lunch hour shift face a barrage of orders coming from drive-thru customers as well as the main counter.
Would you like to try any mac and cheese bites today? Oh, thank you. If the screen's corrected, it's 10:42. Second window, please.
It's very fast-paced. We're all in our positions, but we do move around, jump about to help out, to get the orders out.
But meager salaries, fewer teenagers in the workforce, and fear of COVID have been a drain on fast food restaurants. Job openings at restaurants and hotels reached 1.3 million in November 2022, the 20th consecutive month with over 1 million vacancies. Bars and restaurants make up about 90% of those positions. A typical fast food worker makes about $26,000 a year, compared with a concierge at a hotel who can earn more than $37,000.
During the pandemic, we faced a lot of staffing challenges, and things are better, but there's still challenges with staff in many locations.
To assist workers, White Castle added Flippy to take over its fry station. The robot cooks food more consistently and doesn't require time off.
And I think some restaurants are also looking at this as a way of, well, this robot is expensive, but is it cheaper than however many employees I would need to hire, especially because a lot...
Now, as somebody who works in the hotel industry now, that's what happened. A lot of people said, F that, I'm going to go somewhere where it's a little bit more chill. And, I don't have to worry about slaving myself around the clock. Slaving. I'm not going to that extreme. But, yeah, you're killing yourself up in there most of the time. Because most of the time, everybody done called out. So, quite frankly, you're in there just kind of going solo, Lone Ranger in that bitch, just trying to take over. Just trying to get through a normal day. And, people don't understand, man. It's hell back there. People treat you like ass. Talk foul to you. It's hot. It's nasty. Some of the places don't get cleaned that well. You're managed terribly by people who don't know what they're doing. It's a mess, man. Like, not all of them like that. Not everywhere, but a lot are. A lot more than aren't. So, but yeah. Most people quit. They left food and went to a hotel. Went to hospitality. A lot easier. A lot less bullshit to deal with.
Workers have not been sticking around as long as they're used to.
This is one of the positions that is the hardest to fill and hardest to retain for restaurant operators. There are dozens of positions back of house. This one is a really demanding one. It's hot and it's very, very fast paced.
Robots like Flippy solve other problems for restaurants too. For starters, fast food work can be dangerous. In California, the state with the highest number of people employed in the fast food industry, workers face health hazards, ranging from overflowing sewage, smoke inhalation, and extreme heat, according to one study. Turnover is another headache for the industry. Prior to the pandemic, the restaurant industry faced a workforce turnover of 130%, according to Panera Bread's CFO, Michael Bufano. At the same time, low-wage workers made up 43% of the U.S. workforce.
As you look at the labor allocation within the restaurant, that's being able to shift one human from that station somewhere else, and that's saving every single month probably somewhere around $700 to $900 in actual profit.
Another incentive for restaurants, hard-to-fill positions have forced chains to push hourly wages to new highs.
The wages have been very low in these industries. They've really been very much pegged to the minimum wage, so that when the minimum wage has been allowed to decline in real terms, that is, it hasn't kept up with inflation, then those jobs get progressively less and less attractive.
Labor is one of the biggest costs restaurants face, averaging about 25 to 30% of sales. McDonald's said it would reach an average of $15 an hour by 2024 at all company-owned restaurants. Starbucks said it was bringing its pay floor for U.S. baristas to $15 an hour. Gen Z consumers made 5 billion restaurant visits in the year ending July 2022, including 4.3 billion trips to fast food eateries. Restaurants often have thin margins, which is one of the reasons why adoption of automation has been slow.
Okay, Starbucks should be paying people $15 an hour. You know how many people get coffee a day up in Starbucks? There's not a second that Starbucks isn't full. And there ain't that many people working in there. I'm sorry, but they can afford to pay them $15 an hour. They can kiss my ass with that. They're going to start complaining. Like, pay up. McDonald's, pay up. But I ain't gonna lie though, when it comes to labor costs, you start running low when you start paying that many people a lot of money. But nobody's ever there, so that's why they can also afford to raise wages.
But that could be changing as the cost of robots has declined by 50% over the last 3 decades. Industrial robot usage has tripled over the past decade from about 1 million in 2010 to 3 million in 2020. The auto industry, by far the largest segment in the market, is followed by electronics, food and beverage, and metals and machinery. The industrial robotics market is expected to reach $81 billion by 2028, up from almost $42 billion in 2021. But will those trends impact Miso's business?
Robots are hard to develop and they're expensive to develop. It takes a lot of time and money and frankly a lot of engineers to get all the technology working together smoothly. Miso makes money by having more and more robots in the field.
In 2021, Miso spent $1.5 million on R&D, $7.8 million on salaries, $6 million on sales and marketing, and a little over $6 million on overhead and administrative expenses. Revenue was just $36,000 in 2021, mostly from the deployment of one Flippy.
Right now, it seems like Miso Robotics is probably the biggest and best known player in the space.
Competitors is a pretty small pool at the moment. We've been on the forefront of this for a long time, but they are coming, and we know the ones that aren't here today will be here tomorrow.
Robot adoption could come quickly, in a similar fashion to the way delivery apps revolutionized the restaurant space. The global food delivery app business is over $150 billion, triple the amount it was in 2017. And that would be welcome news for fast food restaurants who face pressures ranging from rising food costs to staff turnover. Americans spent $2.1 trillion on food in 2021, with more than half of that money going to food away from home purchases.
The tide has turned. There's no longer a question of are robotics coming to the industry. It's a foregone conclusion. The question is, at what pace and in what form?
And what you will see in the months and years ahead for the foreseeable future is more and more automation solutions like Flippy 2 being deployed in everyday restaurants, including some of the best known brands in the world.
Well, that's it for the video. But my lasting thoughts on the video, I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of times I feel like, you're going to have a whole bunch of people talking about, oh, what about the jobs that's being taken away from the people? The jobs. Man, nobody was working these jobs to begin with, man. Nobody wanted to be there. Like I said, if they wanted to be there, you wouldn't have this many issues with staffing. Every building wouldn't have need hiring on it. Everything has, or now hiring, everywhere. There's just all over every building you see. Because nobody wants to be over there. I mean, it's not fun. Nobody, post about working at McDonald's on freaking social media unless they're going off throwing sandwiches all over that bitch, man. Or somebody's getting shot or stabbed or something bad's happening. It's never anything good when it comes to fast food. I mean, it's never anything good. And eventually they'll start replacing people in every industry where eventually they're like, you know what? We could put a bot there and they can do basically the same thing. And they won't complain. And they will be here. And we don't have to pay them health benefits. We don't have to worry about they get injured. We don't have to worry about none of that. Now, I mean, I hate it for overall people. I don't know what we're going to really do yet. I mean, I have thoughts, but I mean, overall, it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything good. But I mean, a lot of this stuff is like, oh, what are we going to do? Nobody wanted to be up in there. Let's stop wasting time. Let's stop tripping and acting like people were just sitting around here just banging down the doors to work at Arby's. I mean, they're not, man. They're not. So like even at like places like Nissan or Ford or Chrysler or wherever you're trying to work in some of these mobile industries. I mean, instead of like looking over, they're going to be like, hey, man, what happened to Fred, Tina, Margaret, Barbara, all of them? It's going to be like, yeah, man, they replaced him with C-3PO. I mean, he's over there. He's there every day. He's here. And he's much better than they are. And I don't have to listen to him, bitch. I mean, it'd be nice to have a few more humans in there. I mean, it'd be nice, but I'm telling you, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. Eventually, you're going to have like, for every 15 people, you're going to have mostly robots up in there. Jobs that needed 30 people are going to take 6. It's just going to take a lot less people. Those people will get paid. Now, I don't know what you do with the rest, but heck, man, I mean, we'll figure that out at some point, I guess, sometime in the future. But I don't know. I saw this and felt like ranting. So thanks for tuning in, and be back with you eventually. I'll holler at you soon. All right. Peace. Hi, thanks for watching. If you liked that video, please hit the button below and subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way, and we have goals around here. Trying to make it to 1 million. Thanks for listening.